What we're hoping to be able to do is get ahead of it, get units on the ground, get personnel on the ground, that we're able to make an effective stop and not let that fire grow like it did yesterday. As a reminder to everybody in the community, we are in red flag conditions today. So every little thing can spark a fire like this. So we're asking everybody, please, don't burn your weeds, don't burn trash, even welding, grinding. Those activities cause fires just as easily, so please be cognizant of that. We are asking the community to stay out of the area. The Sheriff's Department will touch on that a little bit. We did have one minor firefighter injury last night. That firefighter is recovering at home, is said to be doing well. Other than that, we have no other reports of injuries from either firefighters or the community. And I'll stand for any questions.
Chief Rob, I know people they're asking often how close the fire is to their particular location. Can you kind of give maybe like some road boundaries or landmarks, like north, south, east, west, so people can kind of visualize where this is?
What I'll probably do is I'm going to turn that over to BLM with the most current kind of map of where we're at.
Okay.
We're still quite a bit away from the Tome area off of 47, but we'll try to get you a more exact location if we can. Question has also been asked of us as to a cause. As explained, we have our Bosque Fire Arson Task Force, which consists of multiple agencies out here. That will be headed by the New Mexico State Fire Marshal's Office. They are en route as well. And as we move forward and get a little more information, we'll pass that on to you. What we can say is there was no weather in the area yesterday that would have been conducive to causing a fire. So, but as we get into the investigation a little more, we'll get that information out to you.
With the high winds, it's got to be hard for you guys to fly helicopters and dump water onto this fire. How does that change the strategy of fighting a fire like this?
Well, obviously air assets make a huge difference for us. That's the most efficient way for us to cover a lot of ground quickly, particularly when we have fires like this where it's jumping to a lot of locations. We have requests in for air assets. We're hoping to see them arrive a little later this morning and in early afternoon. And basically what we do at that point is just say, hey, if we can get them up between weather, we'll do that. The pilots are the ones that make that decision as to whether or not they feel comfortable with it. And if we can get them up, obviously we'll use them, but we'll at least have them in the area. And if we need to use them intermittently to gain progress, we'll do that.
You mentioned that there's already more crews coming. How many, I guess, personnel or crews do you guys have now, and how many more do you guys expect to get here to continue fighting the fire?
I don't have that number. I'll get that for you. We've made requests from not only state resources, but agency partners. When we deal with what we call these wildland-urban interface fires, there's really two components. There's the wildland component, and then we obviously have to do structural protection. Those are two completely different types of firefighting, so we've made requests for both resources. So we have teams coming in for structural protection, and then we have teams coming in for wildland firefighting.
And then I just want to make sure I have this correct. You said there was one residential structure that was burned?
That's what we've been told so far. As the day goes on, we're going to get teams out to do some true damage assessments. So I'm hoping by this afternoon or this evening that we'll have a much better and a more firm number on exactly what we've seen out there.
But so far you know one for sure?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to turn it over to the Sheriff's Department.
Thank you very much. Next we have Lieutenant Rowland from Valencia County Sheriff's Office.
Good morning. I appreciate everybody coming out this morning. So for the law enforcement response today, what we're predominantly receiving reports of are heavy smoke around the Romancita, Vallejos, and Yerba area in Tomé Adelino. We'd encourage residents with respiratory problems in that area to relocate. We have the Belen Rec Center that displaced residents can use, and we're also establishing another location within Los Chavez in the event that's needed later in today as winds kick up. We have 2 evacuation teams that are currently on standby. Right now, there is no areas that we are currently evacuating. We're only strongly urging residents that are being impacted by the heavy smoke to leave the area. All roadways are currently open. We are not allowing residential traffic on the ditch banks throughout the bosque so that we can leave those avenues of approach and egress for the fire department personnel to get through. We have the livestock board as well as some volunteers still on standby for any sort of livestock affected by any potential fires in the area. They're ready to respond. Any animals that we'll pick up, we'll take to the sheriff's posse where they'll be temporarily held until their owners can retrieve them. We do have teams ready to shut down roadways in small sections that'll be, if it's needed, later today. We don't currently project large areas like we did yesterday with all of Highway 47 or Highway 314 shut down at this time. Our plans are going to incorporate smaller areas to facilitate better traffic in and out for residents that need to get out of the area. What questions might you have for the law enforcement perspective?
I guess on the evacuation notices, for people who haven't decided to leave their home, who are at home but may get a notice to leave, in the meantime, is there something that those families can do to try to better protect their home if they do have to leave?
So if they have to leave, so what's happening right now is our understanding is that right now the fire is within the area of the bosque. There's open fields left and right on the east and west side of the bosque that acts somewhat as a buffer before residential areas are going to be impacted. The fire crews that are currently out on the ground will notify us if they perceive that the fire will come out of control and threaten any of those residential structures. Once law enforcement receives that information, we have teams ready to respond into the local area to help get residents out, and we'll also push out a press release with that information of those affected areas to get out. We're going to keep the roadways open as much as possible for people to get out. Should residential structures be threatened, then at that time we are going to lock down the road and stop incoming traffic from coming into those areas and only let people out. Much like we did yesterday, just in a smaller isolated location as this continues to go on.
And then yesterday there was the evacuation of the nursing home. Do we have any updates or anything about how the people that were evacuated from that area are doing today?
So the information that I've received on our portion is they voluntarily departed. They went to the Belen Rec Center where we have the American Red Cross there on standby, and they're currently staging there. It was our recommendation to them earlier this morning that they should probably shelter in place at that location, given the concerns of the high winds, northerly winds that would also impact them. Our concern with there was the respiratory issues from the smoke inhalation yesterday, and then the potential fire danger that may or may not occur today. The law enforcement has reached out to all the local schools. We worked very closely with them in reference to their activities today. We opened the roads for them to go. Some schools chose to do remote learning today, and we're keeping the schools informed of any potential threats so that we can get them evacuated. If that does occur later today, we'll do it much like we did yesterday. Those children can be evacuated out to the Belen collection point at the rec center, and parents will be able to pick them up from that location. If that occurs, we will make that announcement so that all the parents know where their children will be located. Yesterday, the schools did a phenomenal job matching the children with their parents or guardians to pick them up. We didn't have any issues of missing children or miscommunication. That worked very well yesterday for us, and I expect that'll happen again today.
For people who do choose voluntarily to evacuate, but they don't maybe have a place to go, like a friend or a family member, where do you advise them to go? Is it the Belen Rec Center, or do you have another place to go?
We have the Belen Rec Center. Rio Communities is also afforded a location here, so anybody that's displaced within the Rio Communities area or the southern part of Highway 47 should probably go to the Belen City Hall. They made arrangements there. We have the Belen Rec Center for southern Belen people affected near Gabaldon. And to the north side, we're establishing something in Los Chavez on the west side to help any residents in that area. As soon as we get that location locked down, we'll go ahead and release where that'll be at. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, I'd like to introduce Dr. Martin Moore, the City Manager for Rio Communities.
Good morning, and I'd like to give you also a welcome on behalf of our mayor, who is on some other important assignments right now. But I wanted to let you know that here at Rio Communities, we've been very appreciative of the local, state, federal response to this fire that could have harmed a lot of people potentially yesterday. And thanks to the valiant efforts, it could have been a lot worse. We pray for those, we pray for the families who are having concerns, who are potentially in harm's way. And we hope they're able to get out safely if they need to. As was said, we do have an area over here. I know that last night the Moose Lodge had made themselves available. There may be a local church. We're going to double check with that if there are people who need to get out and avoid smoke. Here on the east side of the river, sometimes people have a hard time getting over to the west side. I have personally had family on the west side yesterday who had trouble getting back home. And so to all of those, I hope everyone got home safely. We really do also appreciate, in the midst of the professionals you have here, we had quite an outpouring of volunteers. We had volunteers bringing food and drink. We had our volunteer firefighters. Literally, some of them dropped what they were doing at their jobs, came in, stepped up in first attack, and we want to thank them and for their professional response, particularly on doing things on an as-needed and part-time basis. Very, very much so. The county, the city of Belen, city manager and I have talked once or twice, and we're talking back and forth if we each need any kind of assistance from the other. As things happen throughout the day, we're going to be standing ready to provide whatever assistance. Our role, obviously, as a city is just to be here, and whatever resources or help we need to help bring to bear for the firefighters and for those who are doing planning, we intend to do so. So, any questions, or if not, thank you.
And finally, I'd like to introduce Incident Commander Mark Wheeler from the Bureau of Land Management.
Good morning, Mark Wheeler, Incident Commander for the Big Hole incident, Big Hole fire. We got ordered up yesterday, created an organization, and we took command of the fire yesterday evening, about 1,800 hours. And since we took over, our main goal is firefighter and public safety. And that's what we're focusing on today. Obviously, our winds are starting to pick up. We do have aviation assets that have been ordered. We're hopeful that we can utilize those, but our main strategy right now is to try to keep what we did work on it last night with our containment lines, try to improve those, and try to keep the fire contained within where it's at. We still do not have any containment on this fire as of right now, and that's just because the erratic behavior that we're seeing, and fires can easily jump these lines real quick, especially with the wind that we're receiving, that we're forecasting to receive. We had firefighters work overnight on this fire, trying to create dozer lines, utilizing natural features, roads, and other barriers that we can use to prevent the fire from growing. They did some strong work last night, and we're hoping that we can build on that today and keep the fire from progressing. We'll see what happens with the wind. Currently, we have over 100 people assigned to this fire. That's likely to grow a little bit, and we're going to try to get more resources in here as much as we can. We're competing with other fires in the area, and that makes it kind of difficult with resources, so utilizing our cooperators, the fire departments, and the other agencies kind of helps us out a lot. So we're just going to continue with that plan, firefighter, public safety, protection of property, and we'll go from there. We've got the fires broken into 2 divisions. We have a west division on the west side of the river and an east division on the east side, and we also have what we call a structure protection group, and they're primarily focused on establishing what structures we have that are threatened and how to get them protected, and we're going to be working on that, focusing on that today, and trying to get to this wind event. Hopefully we can get to this wind event, and hopefully we'll have a better idea of what we're going to look at by this evening, and try to come up with a better plan on how we're going to contain this. Obviously, you guys know these fires along the river valley in the Bosque, they can grow really fast, really quick, and that's without wind. Now you add the wind in, so we have the spotting potential that is going to create havoc on us. They did mention some aircraft coming in. We do have a very, what we call a Type 1 heavy helicopter that we've got ordered, and it should be coming in this afternoon. Hopefully the winds are going to be light enough we can utilize that. If we can utilize that, that's going to be a great asset for us, and we can put that to work.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You may not be able to answer this, but you know, we've heard about people and their property, and we've heard about pets. But what about livestock? You have some farms in this area. Has there been any issue with that?
There has been a few, and we've had the New Mexico Livestock Board here. I actually talked to one of them this morning, and I think they had several horses, some donkeys, and some cows that they had already moved off site, and they're trying to get in there to see if there's anything else they can get. So we are working on that issue, and that's just one of the issues that we have to try to dial in with this incident is, you know, not just the public safety, but the livestock, and so we do have that issue. We are working with the New Mexico Livestock Board on that.
Kind of the same question I had for Chief Crop. Kind of just give me some geographic boundaries or miles of the area the fire's hit so far, just so people kind of can visualize where this is.
Yeah, well, we're working on trying to get a better mapping system for us right now.
Okay.
Right now, I can tell you, Romancita Road to the north is kind of where we're at on the east side of the river, and I think it's Gabaldon on the west side of the river where we are to the north. So hopefully we'll have a better area or a better geographical area by this evening with some better mapping. I'm hoping to get an aircraft over here that we can map this fire and see exactly where we're at. But yeah.
I mean, you know, we can see the smoke forever, so people are like, how close is it?
Absolutely.
In New Mexico, everything seems real close.
Everything seems real close.
On the west side, it's going to be North Gabaldon Road. We're up by Gabaldon Road and the I-25 bypass, will be the northern part of it. And then Romancita on the east side of the road is the northern part. Since winds are pushing north, I would expect a push forward.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next up, I'd like to introduce Commissioner Joseph Ezell from District 4. Commissioner.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank all these wonderful agencies that have come to help us. And I'd like to touch on a couple of subjects that each one of them has brought up. As far as the livestock, we have several volunteers. If you guys need to call 911, we have volunteers that have trailers. They can help you move them to safe pastures away from the fire. We also have Bosque Farms Arena has offered to, for the goats, sheep, the sheriff's posse on the other side of the river in Belen has offered to take people. But one of our main deals is pay attention to these guys. These guys are the subject matter experts. If they ask you to evacuate, please do so. They're here to look out for your safety. The other thing is the winds are picking up, and as we all know, the fire can jump to both sides of the river easily. So pay attention to that stuff and make sure that everybody is safe. These guys are doing a great job. I've been in contact with Yvette Harold's office. They're trying to help us. And just be safe. A lot of the problems that we have is the drones too. Make sure you guys aren't flying the drones to take pictures of that. So if we can't get the helicopters in here, they can fly safely, and just be safe. Any other questions?
We have a lot of different agencies here, a lot of people working on this. If people want a centralized location to go for information, like a Facebook page or something, where do they go for that? So they're not bouncing around on all these different pages.
Well, good stuff about Belen. That is one of the main pages, and there's a lot of good information on that page. The county's webpage, we have that. So either one of those, we kind of share each other's stuff. So the county's page is the main one to look at.
What's the communication between Yvette Harold's office and you guys? Is it more so about resources? Is it more so about the shelter?
Pretty much everything. She contacted me probably about 2 o'clock yesterday. As soon as she found out about it, her office was on the phone asking what they could do to help. Thank you.
want to thank everybody for coming today. We do want to provide just a touch on that little bit of information. nmfireinfo.com, and this is the Big Hole Fire. That might be an area of resource to find out a little bit of additional information. We will keep you updated as events progress throughout the day and let you guys know where we stand as we make some of our benchmarks. Again, we just want to remind everybody out there, please be cautious, be safe, watch these winds today, and just be safe out there. So, thank you very much.